Hello, my loves. I am here, and if you are joining me, you should now be able to see my screen, potentially hear my voice. And you have no face. You have no face today because I have yet to work out exactly how to stream and connect my Zoom, and so I'm doing it live in Facebook, and that means that I do not have the technical prowess to be able to share both my screen and my face. Last time when I moved back between the screen and then back to my face, it actually ended the recording. So we're going to do it this time. So if you're joining me live, hello. If you're on the replay, hello. If you are watching the replay, then pop replay in the comments. If you're joining me live, let me know that you are here. And if at any point you have any questions or comments or ahas or anything you want to add, then you are so welcome to do so. And I will attempt to keep an eye on the comments. What I have found is that it's a little bit slow, a little bit laggy, and also I don't always see your comments as we go. It does look like we've got one person on. Hello. And after I've finished, I will absolutely come back and check all of the comments and all of the questions and see whether there is anything that I can add. So for now, if you are watching live, just let me know that you can hear me and see my screen. This is part 2, and I just want to say thank you for all of your feedback and comments about part 1. You should be able to watch the replay inside the group, and I have also given Shari an edited version so that she will be able to share that in some of her paid spaces as well. And as always, it is a real honour to be invited into this space and to be asked to share. So I'm super excited to be here. I have been very poorly and I am better now, but it might be a little slower than you're used to. And if you've spent lots of time watching me doing different things, and that's no bad thing. So let's see how we go. I am just going to begin. So this is part 2 of the Kismet Codes, understanding the gates via their archetypes and the centres that they belong to. And last time we got as far as the spleen, and so we're going to continue today. And the idea is that you're going to leave with a simple way to understand the essence of each code and a renewed sense of excitement about your own and each other's unique coding and how we are all medicine, mirrors, and messengers for one another. And the most important piece of this is really that we are medicine for one another just by being electromagnetically magnetized or repelled by one another. And there is nothing to do other than be. And what I hope that you leave this class with is an understanding really of the way that the codes and the cordons or the hexagram in each center make up the energy of that center, which then becomes, the centers are, we know them for a particular energy and for a particular purpose, and this is just breaking it down and getting more specific into each one. And when we start to really think about the codes this way, or the gates this way, it becomes much easier to remember them, because we know that they have themes that are based on that center, and that center, the centers themselves come from the chakras, and the chakras have a particular energy or a particular function, and they work, you get to work with that energy in a particular way. And when we start looking at them in this way, it all starts to make sense. And rather than all of these separate pieces of human design or the gene keys or astrology or even numerology, rather than them all feeling really separate components, we start to see them begin to synthesize. And this is one of my areas, I suppose, of expertise, because as a manifesting generator, I operate in these liminal spaces. And I remember even at school being like, why are you teaching us history and geography separately? You can't, right? Like all of the history is based on geography because people were at war with one another, right? Like all of these things blend into one another. So we study them separately first and then we start to bring them together. And that might sound complicated, but really the essence is we get to be us, and us being us informs and impacts everyone around us, and that is good for us all. And so, wherever a center is defined, a person is carrying that energy as an energetic influencer. And so, what I said last time, and I stick by it this time, is that wherever you have a defined center, whether this a defined gate, whether the center is defined or not, that is where you are an energetic influencer, and therefore it is your responsibility to be the gift rather than the shadow of that particular gate. And that's your work, that's your karma, right? And if you have an undefined center, wherever a center is undefined, this is where you're open or amplifying the energetic carriers of that energy. And so it's in those places that we're able to amplify the energy of everyone around us, which is why it's so important that if we're doing the best job we can of our defined centers, then we will start to see the change that we want to see in the world by being that change. Because if we are being responsible for our defined centers, then and we are amplifying our undefined centers, then the world will start to evolve and grow, and our DNA will shift and change because we are being responsible for our defined energy. So if we want to change the world, we must first be a great example of our defined centers. And that is really, really important to me, and why I'm sharing this information in this way. And we're going to start today with the ego center. And the ego center is our willpower and our ability to stay motivated. And it's very much about our will and our heart's desire, right? So the will center and the G center both come from the heart chakra. They split out into these different parts, almost like the front heart and the back heart, if you like, and they have different purposes. And the defined ego has a fixed sense of drive, value, and willpower, and they want something, right? They want to build and create and or have or move in a certain way, and they are motivated to do that, to act in a certain way or to move in a certain way. And because it is heart, if it's coming from the gift, it will benefit everyone around us. And we are often in the kind of neo spiritual world, or the parts of the, I don't know, personal development world, which I don't always agree with, because it vilifies the ego. And for me, the ego is a central part of being human. It's a really important part of human. We don't want to transcend the ego. We don't want to become so enlightened that we are purely spirit, because that would be to transcend our human experience. And we incarnated to have a human experience. And so instead of trying to transcend the ego, our job is actually to honor it, and to really, really honor our power and our will and our desires, and what we want and what we're motivated for. And that really means saying yes to the things that are yes, and no to the things that are no, in a similar way than as the sacral, right? This is very much about being very mindful of your power and how you use that power, and using that power well. And so it is a motor, and it is an energetic bank, and people who have this defined have a lot of energy in some ways, but it can burn out, particularly if it's not being used well. And by well, I mean in alignment with what feels true and what is the gift of each of these gates and centers. So we're going to run through them like we did last time, so that you can start to see the themes of this center, and really understand that whilst we say, okay, it's a motor center and it's about value and worth and motivation and willpower and wealth and value, what is it? How? Why are we saying that? What is it that makes it that way? And so if we start with gate 26, the artful ego, this is about the gift of artfulness. It is the core theme of being the best, and in action, it offers grace to yourself and to others. And why I put the affirmation as divine pride is watching us all thrive is that we are here to bring something to life. You know, whether this is sell something, whether this is move everything forward, it's for the tribe, right? This is for the collective. This is really for the benefit of all. And that's that piece that's really, really important. It's like, yes, it wants to be the best, but it wants us all to be the best because it understands that together we are, you know, it's very much about itself, but also for the benefit of. And that is really, really important. And this artfulness, this real skill to creating and using power well in an artful manner. Then we have gate 51, the shock of love. And this is a beautiful, beautiful gate. And it can take a little nuance to understand it because we don't necessarily understand how the shock or that feeling of shock and love can coexist. And I love this gate because it's really demonstrates that the kind of first shock that we experience, or the first shock of love that we experience, is being born, right? It's being born into a physical body, which is our kind of gift from Gaia, into this world where we are able to create and live and experience and be the first us, right? Now, in numerology and in energy bodies and in some of the other stuff that I teach and work with, the first energy body is the soul body, and that is the place where we initiate. And if you think of the word initiative or any of the derivatives of this word, it's really about being the first. To have an initiation is to start something new, right? And so this piece of a shock of love is really about individuating in a unique way, honoring the soul. It's to be the first at something, it's to have radical faith in life and awaken through shock, and to understand that what a shock can be is a massive pattern interrupt that reminds us that the whole point of everything is love. And that life, you know, the fundamental question of is life itself benevolent or not? You know, is it happening to me or is it happening for me? That's what this theme is really about. And so you get to have this kind of shock and then come back to actually the innocence, the naivety, the youthfulness of initiation, of wanting to be first, of wanting to be the best, of wanting to have a go, of doing something new. That's what the energy of this is about. It's an Aries energy, and it's very much, right, like jump in and with an innocence and a reverie for life. Then we have gate 21, the honourable huntress, and the gift of authority. And there is an element of control, and I'm gonna come back. Oh look, 1313. I'm gonna come back and just show you this. And this is one of the things that I work with. It's not how everyone works. It's one of my pieces of synthesis, which I'm going to share with you. So we have 5, which is the body in numerology. It's this energy of manifestation, and we have 1, which is about initiation, newness, uniqueness, the soul, that everything we just talked about. And if we add 5 and 1 together, we get 6, and 6 is the holy person or the sage. It's the crown chakra. It is the warrior or the warrior, and it's really this piece of protect and project. It's very much an energy of faith. And so every single code is also made up of the sum of its parts. And so we get to see that this is really, really beautiful. This is a 5-1, but it's also, and there are components of the 5 and the 1 in here, but there's also a piece of 6 energy in it. When we come down to 21, it's the same thing. We've got this piece of 2, which is about a relationship, longing to belong, the lover and the manager. It is energy of no and the negative mind and separation. And then we have this 1, which again is that uniqueness. It's that coming first. It's a new way of doing it. It's an impulse for initiation. And together they make 3, which is about power, and it's about resource, and it's about control and authority, which makes complete sense because we are looking at a gate that is all about control and all about authority and using power well, using control with in a constructive way that will benefit everybody, understanding that the best way to use our power is in a way that benefits everybody. And that is really the theme of this gate. It's all about kind of using the purse strings and managing resources well, understanding that well means for the benefit of all. And so again, we've got this theme of for the benefit of all, right? Then we move on to 40, which is the papa. And this again is really about work and service. It is about providing for the community, for the family, for the collective, right? It is about being completely resolved to that, honouring one's purpose as a provider, as a protector. But it's also about balancing that with your own needs and knowing that if you're not looking after yourself, if you're not motivated, if you're not finding purpose in your purpose and resting and restoring and looking after yourself and taking time in solitude, then you're not going to want to be this provider, and you're not going to be recognized for it, and you're not going to have a reciprocal relationship with yourself, with God, with others. And so this, if I come back to the numerology thing, which I won't do the whole way through because we haven't got time, but here we have 4 and 0. 0 is an amplifier. 4 is the energy of the judge or of neutrality, and it's really about kind of serving the collective, because if we think about 4, it's also about the network, it's about the heart. So this is such a beautiful gate, which is really about providing and providing for the family, for the unit, for the collective, you know, from a place of responsibility, but from a place of responsibility that also includes you. And this is something that I say to all 4 lines, right? Like your network includes you. Stability includes you taking care of yourself. That safety you seek comes from within as well as without. So as we can see from all of these gates, it's very easy to go, oh, so ego-y, oh, the will center. But actually every single one of them is about using power well. It's about using that will well. And I think if we come back to the gift of each one, we really remember that there's something really, really beautiful in that. And we can see these gates in a slightly different way. We're going to move on to the G center. And I am going to move screens and see whether I can see anyone on. I don't know what that means. Can you all, it's telling me I've got a low stream rate, but I don't know if that means that you can't see me or hear me or that it's terrible. So please let me know. I have no comments that I can see right now, but I don't know what that means. So I'm going to continue and hope for the best. Yeah, I will. Just going to add something in. Let's see if this works, whether it posted or not. Essentially, I'm posting a comment on my own thread, but we will see how it's going. Okay. Let's continue and see what happens. Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Perfect. Very good to know. So I will continue with the G center. So the G center is the seat of our identity and pulls us towards what we love. So this is also known as the magnetic monopole. It is our, it's part of the Horus. It's part of, when I describe this study, this area of work of the aura or of the DNA or of the gates or of the cells, like what I often talk about is our electromagnetic field. And this is a real part of that. This is right at the center, and it is what we are here for, our direction, our identity is held in the G center. And so if it's defined, you have a fixed sense of direction, of love, and of self. And if it's undefined or open, then there is a flexible identity, and there may be an openness there, and you may take on the characteristics of those around you. And yeah, this is one that I have completely open, no definition here whatsoever, which means that I amplify the I amplify the gates of others, or the energy of others that I come into contact with. And there's a real beauty in that to me. And it's one of the centers that I worked on deconditioning the most, because I think there's real wisdom and beauty in being able to work with our open centers, rather our undefined centers too, but there's some real magic in the places where we're completely open. So, like I said, this is about identity, love, direction. It's the center of self. And the first and one of my favorite gates inside the G center is 7. And this is the gift of guidance. And our esteemed community leader, let's say, Shari, has this in it's such a beautiful walking example of this energy, of what it means to be responsible for definition of a code, right? So the core theme is directional leadership, vision, and influence. In action, it's really about staying true to the highest vision for the collective. And as I say, it's the gift of guidance. And, there's a real this is about being it, not saying it, not thinking it, not doing it, but being it. And just by case in point of me being in Sherry's group, sharing this work, it's such a beautiful way that she models the gift of this particular gate. Then we have 1, which is I call the walking work of art, and this is the gift of freshness. And for me, it's really about self-expression and the capacity of creativity, but creativity from this place of being, right? Like being art, like living your art, allowing yourself to work with your natural creative cycles, with the ebbs and flow of eros that run through you. And we'll keep going because you'll get the theme as we keep going. So we've then got 13, the loving listener. And this is the gift of discernment, really about listening to other people's secrets, listening to the stories, the things that are unsaid, holding space and listening with empathy, and coming at what you hear with an attitude and orientation of compassion and empathy and grace. And in so doing, developing leadership from what you're hearing. You can't, the best way to lead is not from fear or from power, but from listening to what the people need and want, and what is working for them, what isn't working, where they're vulnerable, what their secrets are, what needs transmuting. And so this again is a real the art of leadership comes from knowing where to go like next in terms of direction, and also understanding who you get to be in order to honor that, in order to, and again, this informs identity by listening. Then we've got 25, the spirit of love and the gift of acceptance. And this is about unconditional love and really retaining that kind of innocence of of awe, of how amazing is it to be alive, that we have a body, that we have this earth, that we have each other, that we have free will, that we can go in any direction we want, we can be anything that we want to be. And the acceptance part of that is allowing everybody to be themselves, right? Then we have 46, which is the embodied empress, and this is the gift of delight. And again, this is like really honoring who we be, and part of who we be in this incarnation experience is based very much on our body, on our experience of living in a physical vessel and enjoying that experience. Because if we were in soul form, we wouldn't have this body. If we had, part of a huge part of the incarnation experience is to be in our body and to enjoy that experience. And yet so many of us take it for granted or complain about it or treat it like it's a hardship. And I include myself in that, right? Like there's a lot of really acceptance needed in some ways to come into this place of delighting in our own bodies. And a lot of what we've been taught is to be ashamed. And that comes from this place of taking our power away, or taking our identity away, taking our uniqueness away, and our magnetic nature away. But actually, when we are in a state of delight, we are abundant, we are art, we are being, everything that we it is our birthright to be in a physical form, right? And that doesn't mean overindulging either. It means like really relishing the body and going, okay, this is what it needs, this is what is delightful, any more is too much, or whatever. Then we have gate 2, which is the receptive self, and this is the gift of orientation. It's about receptivity, it's about direction, it's about vision, and it's about remaining receptive to the abundance of life, and really coming back to, some of you will have heard me say, when there is a lack of something, there is an abundance of something else, right? Because of the law of correspondence. So if you are in a state of saying, well, there isn't this, or I'm blocked from going in this direction or moving forward in this way, okay, there might be a lack of ease in that direction, but where is there a lack of ease? Where is there ease, right? Where is there an abundance of ease? And so when you're attuned to your inner compass, you're able to move in the right direction at the right time without needing to use your head. Right? This is really about knowing when to move, where to move, how to move, and moving through life attuned to this sense of receptivity. And then we have the gift of magnetism in the wild one from 15. The core theme here is just really loving humanity, embracing the different rhythms and extremes of behavior, and marching to the beat of your own drum, and understanding that each of us is, unique and wild in that way. And if we come back to the numbers, we've got this 1 and this 5, and together making the 6. So really just trusting in the uniqueness of each body and allowing each body to be magnetic in its own right, to be perfect and in its uniqueness. And then we have, talking about perfect in its uniqueness, we move on to number 10, the perfect being. This is the gift of naturalness, and it really is about the love of being oneself and being an example of radical self-love, or being an example of being practically perfect in every way, which is why we have Mary Poppins on there. But for me, it's like just being in acceptance of what is, and knowing that however you are and however anyone is perfect, not because there is nothing else to perfect, but because our natural state is perfect. And that means if we come then to look at them again and go, okay, what is this center about? What is the kind of uniting theme of all of these? It is this piece of like being really in love with being human and being magnetic and being alive, and really honoring the love, because it is a part of the heart, right, of self and of your identity and what it is that makes you you, without trying or without pushing or without doing anything. This is a being piece. Then we have the throat center, which is one of the most important centers. They're all important, but the way energy works and flows is that it comes up through the root, through our other centers, to be manifest through the throat, and or it comes in through our other pressure center, our head, down through the ajna, and then out through the mouth or the throat, right? And when we are breathing, we're using this. When we're talking, we're using this. When we're expressing, we're using this. And this is our expression center. And it is also our manifestation center. It's where things go from being inside of us and being energy to being spoken or manifested into existence through this center. So it's about communication, it's about expression, and there are a lot of gates here, so I'm going to move quite quickly. So I think I've just said all of these pieces, right? It's where all energy is moving. It's about expression, manifestation, and communication. Okay, cool. Let's go. The first one is 62. And so I'm not going to go into massive detail into it today, but I have put in the corner of each slide the a link to what this gate is, how it's expressing, or how it might communicate, or what it might be expressing. And this is based a little bit on the code of each gate, and each gate is based on the code of that is based on where does the channel run between. So the throat will then run between, or that channel will, that gate will have a channel that runs between the throat and somewhere else, and where it runs to will influence what that expression gate is about. I'm hoping that makes sense to you. So the 62, for example, runs up to the ajna, and therefore this piece up here is I think. Okay, so we're looking at the gift of precision, and it's about communicating the details and facts and communicating with clarity and precision. And then we have the Essence Revealer 23, and this is about communicating individual insights. And so in action, it's about communicating radical ideas. If we come up here, we've got communicating details, communicating with clarity and precision, right? So here, individual insights, this is really important for this one. Then we go on to 56 and the Wandering Storyteller. And this is a perfect opportunity to let you know, for those of you who don't know already, that gate 56 is my son. And if you were here at the beginning of this class, I gave you not on purpose, by the way, a little piece about I believe, right? I gave you, I believe that it is our responsibility to demonstrate and be the gift of the centers or gates that we have defined. And that's such a gate 56 thing to say. And the core theme of gate 56 is curiosity, stimulating storytelling, which I hope are always that my stories are for you, with a gift of enrichment. And the idea is to share information in a way that is amusing, entertaining, enriching, stimulating, right? That makes you feel something and impacts or affects you in some way. And that for me is really, really important. And also, you'll notice that the way that I deliver all of this training is really coming from this place of, it's not about arriving somewhere, but it's about having an experience. And I'll always come back to your incarnation intentions, and it's about the journey, not the destination. And that is because I'm really not on purpose, it's not a conscious thing, but I am in alignment and honoring my gate 56 when I do that. So just an example of what that might then look like. So 35 is all about adventure, and for me it's about being the star of the show. It's about being the hungry heroine. It's about being hungry for adventure and shooting for the moon and landing amongst the stars. I can't see it so well on my screen, but this is someone with the moon on a stick, because as someone with gate 35, it is your job to ask for and desire and communicate and attempt to manifest the moon on a stick, right? Because you want to see evolution, you want to see progress, you want to experience everything that life has to offer and feel and communicate what you're feeling as you do. And this is really, this is about this is the actresses, the singers, the writers, the poets, those of you who are hungry to communicate about adventure and experience in a very feeling way. 12 is the purist, and this is a really beautiful and interesting gate because it's really about expressing emotion creatively and really understanding that when we express our emotion, we move and impact others. And it is not about necessarily getting it right or wrong, but that when we express, we are able to discriminate, right? We're able to, often we don't know until we start to talk it out, or till we start to express it, until we start to, express it in some way. And that might be poetry, it might be art, it might be manipulation of clay, it might be, there could be a million different ways. And there's this, I know I can try, right? Like, do you know the answer? No, but I can have a go, right? Like I can start to express it and see what shifts while I'm doing that. And the purist wants to find the essence of something, wants to find the truth of something, wants to find it, the purest form. But the only way to do that is to start, is to have a go, is to start expressing. And as it starts to express, it'll be like, no, not that, no, not that, no, not that. But in so doing, produce absolutely beautiful samples and art and things for us to have a taste of, right? Then we have 45, the generous guardian, and this is the gift of synergy. And this is really about having and knowing that a rising tide lifts all ships, right? When one of us suffers, we all suffer. When everyone thrives, we all thrive. And so it's the gift of synergy and like generosity in community, in tribe, in family, in unity, and really trying to find the win-win and find a way for us all to be resourced. And so, yes, it is I have, but it's I have because when I have, we have. 33 is the wisdom keeper, and this is about remembering. It's about listening to the stories of the past or reflecting on the stories of the past. It's about the grandmothers or the 7 generations of wisdom keepers. It's about connecting with the Akashic. It is about healing the future by healing the past, and really listening to the stories of the past with mindfulness and reverie, and revealing wisdom so that we can change timelines and heal across timelines by not forgetting where we've come from. 8 is I call it the continuous contribution, and it's the gift of style. And there is no trying here. When you have the 8, then you just are an exquisite expression of uniqueness. And there is nothing like, the 8 is often an incredible art curator, a talent curator, a style curator, just able to be themselves, and is making a contribution by being radically authentic and unique, And being and there's this real like being a beacon for knowing that being yourself is always in style. You know, there might be fashions and there might be trends and there might be periods where some things are considered a contribution and other things are not. But the real truth of it is that being yourself is a gift and a contribution to the collective. And expressing yourself and expressing well is a real gift to the collective, regardless of whether anyone agrees, because we often learn a lot more when we don't agree than when we do. Then we have 31, the visionary voice, and this is about leadership and really understanding that leadership is not always about being visible, right? This is one of the things that I think is very interesting in our world at the moment and is very much shifting as we move into the age of Aquarius. It is less and less about what somebody looks like or what something looks like or what a leader looks like is often optics, and we've got really into this. But what we really want to be looking for is this actual gift of leadership, which is this visionary voice. It is something that calls us together and unifies us and allows us to feel, sense, or know this vision on more levels than with our eyes. We need to be able to hear it, we need to be able to see it, we need to be able to sense it, we need to be able to know it. And there's a piece for the 31 which is very much about using your influence and your ability to captivate and be a bit of a Pied Piper, if you like, using that well and making sure that you're leading people responsibly and leading people from a place of what is best for the collective and for our evolution, rather than it being about you as a leader. You know, this is true leadership. And often that means that the people I know who have this are not often the ones on the ship sailing the ship, but are the ones that are steering the ship with their voice and with their light, which is why it's a siren and also the lighthouse there, right? Rather than the kind of captains on the ship. There are some people who stand in power being seen, and then there are the voices and the leaders behind that who are actually influencing us, and that is gate 31. Then we have gate 20, which is the now knower. And this is really about knowing in the now, right? Like these people or this energy is very, very good in a crisis, or because this is their time, right? Their timeline is now. Their timeline, they have instantaneous clarity and absolute influential leadership in this moment. Very, very self-assured in this moment. Ask them what they want or where they'll be or how life, what. Tell me about the future. No. Tell me about the past. Less clarity, less self-assuredness. But in the now, they know. And so this is a really, really powerful energy. And actually, if you look at it in the kind of circuitry, it's linked in to many different to different channels, and like it isn't just one. And that's really important because it is connected to the pulse of now. Then we have 16, and the core theme of mastering something. And really, this happens over time. And so there's this experimentation that needs to happen in order to be the master of something, right? To master something is not necessarily to just know it immediately. It's not an overnight success. Actually, mastery comes from practice and patience and perfecting, and knowing that the whole that the learning of the craft, that the experiencing of the craft, that the failures, that the wonky pots, all of that stuff is part of the mastery process, and that in mastering one becomes and one has the gift of versatility. So all of these different centers, which are very varied, if you like, in their voice and what they're here to express and the way that they manifest and create, but they're very much kind of pulling together all of these other energies of themes and bringing them into the throat. Just going to check and see whether there's anything else. Can't see any comments, but again, like I said, I'll come back and check afterwards. So we're on the ajna. The ajna is the center of mental processing. It's a concept center, right? It's conceptualizing ideas. And people who have it defined tend to have real clarity around the way something should work, or around a concept, right? A particular way of thinking, a defined way of thinking, or a fixed way of thinking. And where people have it undefined, then they may receive many, many different perspectives, see a lot of different ways, and often therefore struggle because they try and make concepts fit. So I want you just to think of this as a conceptualization center and a way of processing. Now, if we look at it, the head is above this, right? And this is where, and the head is an awareness center where information comes in, and as it comes in, it's then sorted into and through the ajna into different categories, right? And if I'm going to run down just so you can see in a second, we've got these 3 different ways that information comes in, right? And what you'll see with these is we've got really about kind of confusion. We've got about like wanting to know the mysteries of life. We've got doubt. So we've got doubt, confusion, and ideas or mysteries, or knowing the unknowable, right? As these different kind of energies as they come in. And this is your interface with the world, where we get inspired or kind of overwhelmed, if you like. And then that drops down into the ajna and is then kind of processed through the ajna. So we've got confusion, doubt, and the great mysteries filtering down into this center where they are organized. And this is why it's an insight center, it's a processing center. It is where we translate everything that comes in through the head and form opinions. Okay, so 47 is really about having faith, right? And it's the gift of transmutation. So really understanding that the kind of aha, or the like, oh yeah, I get it, is on its way, and not trying to force that, but allowing it to land in its own way, in its own time, when it's supposed to. So there is an element of like faith that has to happen in order for that transmutation to arrive, which essentially says, you know, when I feel it in my cells, or when it's processed, I will know, right? Which is linked to the idea that everything is afferent, moving up the body, and that actually the head brain is the last to know. Our head brain makes meaning, perceives, and understands, but it is afferent. So we think our head should know first, and it is the quickest of our processes, but it cannot know until the information reaches it, and it needs to go through the whole of the rest of the body before it gets there. And so the 47 is really about trusting that like moment of like, oh, or the aha is on its way, that it's coming, that it will come exactly when it is supposed to and when it's meant to, and when you do actually get it, when it lands, right? But the fear, and each one of the centers in the ajna has a fear because it's desperately trying to process and wants to know and wants surety, and is trying to make order out of chaos. The fear is futility. Like, what is even the point? Like, if I don't know this now, or like, why is this happening to me, or what am I going to do with this information? And that kind of obsessive thought comes from the 47. And we get to lean into transmuting it, like the overwhelm, through our bodies, through like being, and knowing that it will land when it's supposed to land. Like, can we just be with the discomfort of overwhelming information that doesn't make any sense? Can we just live in it? Can we not try and sort it out? And know that at some point we get to go and enjoy the aha when it comes. Then we have the 24, which is the voice of the void. And this is really about, again, this kind of idea of, can we just be with the absence of knowing, right? Can we be with the silence? Can we be in the void? Can we be in the quiet and know that the new thing, the transformation, will come when it comes, right? And when it comes, there will be an invention, there will be something new. But the fear is, I don't know. And so there is a fear of ignorance, right? Like, why did I not know? Why haven't I figured this out yet? And instead of making noise and asking more questions and trying to figure it out, we get to, and the gift of the 24 is like really being in the quiet, allowing yourself in the void, and then knowing that at some point there will be a new concept, a new idea, and like an invention that comes from the void. So we've got to get comfortable being in the void in order for that to appear or to land. Then we have 4, which is the forgiving philosopher. And this is about understanding and making sense of the never-ending chaos. You know, this is my North Node. It's where I'm going. But this idea of like, just when I figured it all out, everything changes. And so you might never understand. And so the only logical solution is to forgive. Because you might never understand why something happened the way that it did, why, you know, what is happening. You may never understand any of it. You may never understand somebody else's reality. You may never understand why you were born at this time. You may never understand any of it. But when we really like forgive and we have compassion and we're like, okay, cool, I may never understand, then at some point we understand. We're like, oh, yeah, I understand. And in order to reach that understanding, we can't think our way into understanding. We need to be in the chaos by harnessing the healing power of forgiveness. 17. So 17 is about having all of the opinions. I call it the omnipotent opinion because it is really about creating solutions, creating concepts, creating ideas, creating opinions, having a perspective that is really, really powerful because it considers all perspectives, because it goes out into the future. It has this gift of far-sightedness where it can transcend time and see all possibilities and then create solutions from there. But it has a fear of challenge because it may not have considered all possibilities, or it may have rushed itself. And so there's really this piece with the 17 around time and really understanding timelessness and giving yourself perspective and allowing yourself to see things from many, many different angles rather than trying to rush it, right? Then we have 11, the daydreamer. Now I think we are still, as I am saying this, we're still in gate 11, but we may be moving very, very soon. And I called this one the daydreamer, and it isn't the daydreamer, it's the daydreamer because there's this piece of light in here, because there is this, in the day we can see things are illuminated, and there is when we can see, there is vision, and there's this idea of being able to see the best from a highest light, the great, all of this kind of all of this is around illuminating the highest frequency, the lightest option. And it's a really, really interesting gate in so many ways because it's the gift of idealism. It's the gift of using imagination to form vision and to like really see that vision and then drop that down into the throat and speak it into existence, right? So it's about using your imagination well and really leaning into idealism, understanding that your imagination is a gift and that your vision is medicine. And what can often happen with people with this gate is that they become realists, and that they don't allow themselves to fantasize or to really like go into their imagination. And if we look at it, it's an 11, so it's a 1 and a 1, which is like human and divine walking together. And it's Sagittarius, so it's a seeker, it's after truth, right? Like, so this is all about dreaming bigger, allowing the imagination to illuminate possibility and being okay with it, with being in the fantastical and imagining something better. And then we have 43, which is the insight freak, and paired with 23, right? They go together, they are each other's programming partner as well as each other's channel pal. And we call this the genius freak channel because it's either a genius or it's a freak, depending on the time, right? Depending on whether it is the time to speak and to share the insight or not. And so there's really a lot here about not being impacted or affected by the outside world. It's about going inside to get the insight from inside of you rather than being impacted or affected by the outside world. Now, what that means is you've got to not fear being rejected, not and there is the core theme of this fear of rejection, of you won't be understood, that you're ahead of your time, that it's that people won't get it yet, that they'll think that you are a freak, when actually they're, you know, this, if it's pure insight and it comes from within, then it's very likely to be genius. But you really get to listen to and trust your internal wisdom and know when it's time to share that with the world and when it's time to keep it to yourself. So then we move into the head, and the head center or the crown is a source of ideas, inspiration, and questions. And it's what, again, it links to the outside world. And so people only have these centers defined if they have their ajna defined. So you can't, if you haven't got defined ajna, then you won't have any of these defined. And so that means that most of us have an undefined or an open head center, and that we feel the pressure to figure things out, but and we feel like every single idea that lands in our head might be for us, but it isn't always, right? Whereas if you've got some definition here, it's really, you get to inspire all of us with your ideas and share your ideas, because you'll have a certainty that those ideas are, you'll know which ones to pick and which ones not to, because yeah, when we are undefined here, we might be like, but what if I never get another idea? I'm going to run with this idea, right? Even though ideas are plentiful. So it's a pressure center, it's the center of inspiration, it's about imagination, questions, and clarity. We did touch on the things before, which is great because we're coming to time, and I will run through it again. But the first one is the imaginative illuminator, and this is the gift of imagination, and it is really about making sense of the past and resolving chaos and confusion. And it's about using our imagination and creativity to transcend the confusion. But often it will just feel confusing. So when I let go of how and allow myself to be abstract, then I find clarity amidst the chaos. And so it's really this like abstract thinking, and that's why I've got Sherlock in there. It's really this, like, instead of trying to figure it out and like force thoughts through a linear pathway, is to let go of thinking and allow the thinking, or if you like, to happen laterally. And in that lateral and abstract imagination, that process, clarity will form from chaos and confusion. Then we have 61, which is the gift of inspiration, and this is like divine inspiration. It is where ideas, you know, come from, where something new land where we have really this kind of link to the divine, but that can come from a place of like wanting to know why. Why? So whereas this one can be like how. This one can be but like why, but why? And there's really this understanding that inspiration will happen at the exact right moment, at the exact right time. And true inspiration is also like having reverie for knowing that some things are just not meant to be known, and that the mysteries are um, often what is really inspiring is that we don't know, right? It's the not knowing and is the great mystery, and our relationship with the unknowable that actually allows us to be inspired. And so in action, this is about really reveling in the mystery of life and the beauty and of the not knowingness, and the kind of the pieces that we cannot understand and that we're not meant to understand, and being really okay with some things being unknowable, and that magic may not be scientific. Like you may not be able to understand, like some things may not make sense, and that's okay. That's 61. And then we got 63, which is really about doubt. And what doubt leads to is inquiring and investigating and asking good questions. And, so there's a really, really powerful piece of doubt. And when it becomes paranoia or suspicion, not so great anymore. So it's like really about the gift of inquiry and working through doubt to make sense of patterns, and to find a new pattern, and to enjoy the inquiry and the investigation and the asking the exact right questions, rather than pushing that into a place of paranoia and suspicion and not believing. And so these get to work together, and you can see how they work together. And so now we're in this place of, now that you know what you know, how can you not love yourself and each other a little bit more, right? We've got all of these fascinating pieces of DNA, of fragments of the universe inside of us all, and we're all working with all of that information all of the time, and I think it's fascinating. Again, if you have learned anything today and enjoyed your experience, please say so in the comments. And if you want to stay in touch, you can do so on Instagram. I'm at Ebonie Alchemy mostly. The shop is on at Ebonie Allard. I will be sharing a new show and new trainings, new information on my YouTube in the new year. And really, all of my work comes down to me wanting you to become full of yourself, because who else should you be full of, quite frankly? And then my final thoughts, just coming back to, it is your responsibility to do whatever you need to do to be the gift of the gates that you have defined. The rest of them are not your karma in this life or in this body. Doing so is how you be the change that you want to see in the world. And the cards that I have shared in this class are the Kismet Codes. They are my creation, and you are very welcome to get your own deck. I've just introduced actually I'm going to upload it today, a mini PDF which is downloadable, which comes with the deck, so that you can keep that on your phone, so that when you're out and about and you'll want to check any of the information about any of the cards, you can do so. So this has been part 2 of the Kismet Codes, understanding the gates via their archetypes and the centers that they belong to. Thank you so much for listening. I've just seen Joe's comment. I'm sorry, but the replay is now here and up for you. If you have been watching and you have any questions, please let me know and I'll come back and answer them. If you're watching on the replay, then let us know, replay, and pop any questions in. Feel free to tag me and I will always come back and respond. Thank you, Jessica. It's so nice, and like I said, such an honor to be here, and thank you for letting me do it in 2 parts. It's been a real pleasure to come back and do this. And yeah, I'm going to end it there, but I will pop into the group and see if there are any questions. And I I'm going to leave you with one. Like, yeah, what is your biggest aha or takeaway from watching this class or part one? Like, what are you taking away from this? And I'd love for you to share that in the comments. And I am going to end it there. Thank you so much.